Hi, my name is Callie Wynn. I'm 33, and for the longest time I thought the worst thing that could happen from being kind was being overlooked, maybe taken for granted. That's it, right? That's the price of being a good person. You give a little, you bend a little, and maybe people forget to say thank you. I didn't know there was a deeper cost. I didn't know kindness could become a weapon against you. Before I go on, please subscribe and like this video and listen to my story till the end. And let me know which city you're listening from in the comments. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. Maybe how far I've traveled since then. So, it started 3 months ago, at my best friend Lena's birthday party. It was one of those messy, warm, slightly too loud gatherings with an unreasonably sugary cake, and people pretending not to scroll Instagram every 5 minutes. Honestly, I didn't go because I was feeling social. I went because Lena's been my friend since college, and because my therapist had been gently nudging me to stop spending every weekend alone in the condo I'd inherited from my grandfather. The condo was paid off. No mortgage. No roommate drama. 3 bedrooms that felt like a prize for surviving something I hadn't fully named. One was mine. One was a home office. The third? It mostly held silence. Until he arrived. That night I met Noah Ellison. He had that kind of boyish charm that didn't feel fake. Not right away. He laughed easily. Remembered names. Asked questions that sounded like he actually wanted the answers. What do you do? I remember the way he leaned against Lena's kitchen counter like he belonged there. I'm in systems compliance, I said. Mostly just spreadsheets and policies no one reads. Noah grinned. Rules are underrated. People mock them until they save your ass. Because I'd spent years being the cautious one. The over-prepared one. The make a plan before you jump one. And here he was, making it feel good to be understood. We talked for hours. About horror films and diner pancakes, and how Lena has the absolute worst taste in men. The conversation felt like a dance I didn't know I was part of until I was already moving to the rhythm. He stood just a little too close. Laughed just a little too loudly at my jokes. Touched my elbow like he'd done it 1,000 times. And when he asked for my number, I gave it. When he texted the next morning. Had fun last night. Want to grab coffee? I said yes. What would you have done at that point? Said yes? Said no? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how fast is too fast for you when it comes to relationships. Within a week we were dating. I know. It was fast. But sometimes loneliness makes speed feel like fate. And Noah? He had this way of being attentive without being intense. He remembered how I took my coffee, which songs I always skipped, that I hated last-minute plans. He'd send me funny little memes mid-afternoon, or voice notes late at night that started with, "Okay, wait, the weirdest thing just happened." Felt easy, familiar, like something that had been building quietly in the background and had finally turned the lights on. 3 weeks in, we were curled up on my couch eating Thai food off paper boxes. His leg was bouncing, chopsticks paused in midair. He looked nervous. "What's up?" I asked. He sighed. "My roommate's moving in with his girlfriend. Our lease is almost up. I've been looking, but everything's too expensive. I don't really have a backup plan unless I move back in with my parents." He smiled when he said it, but it didn't reach his eyes. They live 2 hours away. And it's complicated. That word. Complicated. It painted a picture I didn't even ask to see. Arguments, childhood resentment, a room that didn't feel like home anymore. Then he said something that, in hindsight, was the first quiet hook. "I'm just tired, Cal. I feel like I'm drowning a little." I should have paused. Should have offered help finding listings. But there's this softness in me that looks like empathy. And the condo had a guest room. Too much space. So I said, "You can stay here for a little while. If you need." His eyes lit up. "You serious?" "Temporarily," I added quickly. "Just until you find a place. Guest room only. We're not moving in together." I remember feeling so proud of myself for setting that boundary. Noah smiled, squeezed my hand like I'd thrown him a lifeline. "Thank you. I swear, just a month. Maybe 2. Tops." And I believed him. Because he sounded grateful. Because he kissed my hand like I'd saved him. That was my first mistake. He showed up the next day with 2 suitcases and a smile. The first week? Fine. Honestly, it was sweet. He made dinner, brewed coffee, stayed in the guest room, respected the line. I told myself, see, this is healthy, helping someone without losing yourself. I didn't know that helping him would be the beginning of losing everything else. But then little things started to change. A toothbrush, a hoodie, a cabinet rearranged without asking. And when I told him to slow down, that's when I first saw it. The flicker behind his smile. Stay tuned for part 2. It gets darker and harder to explain. First it was little things. A toothbrush in my bathroom, not the guest one. His shampoo lined up beside mine. A hoodie draped over the back of my dining chair. His socks in my laundry. One night I got home from work, opened a kitchen cabinet and just stopped. Everything was rearranged. Cups where bowls used to be. Spices shoved behind jars. My carefully stacked containers buried like afterthoughts. I stood there blinking, confused. Then Noah walked in, drying his hands on a towel like he lived there. "Oh," he said casual. I reorganized the cabinets. It just made more sense this way. I stared at him. "You didn't ask," I said, trying to keep my voice even. He chuckled, actually chuckled. "Babe, relax. It's not a big deal. We're basically living together anyway." That sentence, it hit like a slap I didn't see coming. No, we weren't. He was a guest. A temporary one. A month or two, remember? I turned to him slowly, something tight forming under my ribs. "Noah," I said, "this isn't your home. You're staying here temporarily. And I need that boundary respected." His face changed. Not a lot. Just a flicker. Something too quick to name. Then he smiled, soft, apologetic. "You're right," he said. "I'm sorry. I'll be more mindful." He kissed my forehead. Like that made it all okay. And for 3 days, it was. Then, it all crept back. Quiet. Creeping. Like ivy curling over brick. Noah started learning me. My schedule. My soft spots. When I hesitated. Where I gave more than I should. And that guest room? It stopped feeling like a guest anything. It became his foothold. The scariest part? I didn't even notice I was losing control. Because it doesn't happen like a robbery. No shattered window. No loud moment. It happens in silence. And yes, you didn't mean to give. In the little tired lies you whisper to yourself. He's just in a rough patch. He's just adjusting. It's not forever. By week 4 he had a key. Not because he demanded one. Not because I handed it to him in some big romantic moment. It happened on a rushed morning. I was juggling my bag, coffee, laptop. He was leaning against the doorframe watching. "Hey," he said. "Can I grab a copy of your key? Just in case you lock yourself out." He made it sound so reasonable. So safe. So I handed him the spare. And the moment it left my fingers, a cold pinch in my stomach. Like something whispered, "Don't." But I ignored it. Because ignoring discomfort is what kind women are taught to do. Be honest, if someone you were dating asked for your spare key after a month, would you give it to them? Or would that be a hard no? Drop your answer below. I really want to know where your boundaries are. At first, he still pretended to be looking for a place. He'd scroll Zillow at dinner, sigh dramatically, say things like the market is insane right now, like he was in some kind of war I couldn't see. Then, he stopped mentioning it altogether. Quietly. Like someone turning the volume down on a song until you forget it was ever playing. I started asking directly. "Seen any new listings?" "Oh, that one was a scam." "What about that building by the park?" The landlord gave me a weird vibe. I kept pressing. He kept dodging. Then came the day that cracked something wide open. It was a Tuesday. I walked into the condo after work. The air felt too still. Noah was on the couch. Feet up. Game controller in hand. The TV screen paused on a battle scene. "Hey," he said, grinning. "How was your day?" I blinked. My bag still on my shoulder. "Why aren't you at work?" He sighed. "Ugh. I quit." Just like that. "You what?" He rubbed his eyes like he was the one exhausted. "My manager was toxic. I couldn't take it anymore." "Noah," I said slowly. "You told me you needed time to save. You told me you were trying to find a place." "I am," he snapped, then immediately softened, leaning forward. I needed a mental health break. And don't get me wrong, I believe in that. I've lived burnout. I've seen what it does. So I swallowed my panic and told myself, okay, 1 week, 2 at most. He'll rest. He'll regroup. That night I even made him dinner. I even asked gently, do you have a plan? He kissed my cheek. I'm figuring it out. That phrase. It sounded so harmless. But figuring it out looked a lot like doing nothing, sleeping in, gaming all day, ordering delivery, avoiding every conversation that sounded like reality. And then came the line I never saw coming. The credit card. The first time he said it was an accident. I just stepped out of the shower. Hair still wet. He was in the kitchen smiling. Surprise. I got us food. You're gonna love it. I blinked at the receipt stapled to the bag. My name. My last 4 digits. Noah. Did you use my card? He grinned. Yeah. It was already saved on the app. Figured it was fine. I'll pay you back. I didn't even remember saving it. But that's how it starts, isn't it? Tiny conveniences that become open doors. The food costs $52. Not a fortune. But the way he said it, babe, it's just dinner. That night I told myself it's a one-off. It wasn't. The next week, he did it again. Without asking. And that time it wasn't $50. It was $476. And when I finally confronted him, what he said chilled me to my core. In part 3, the line gets crossed. And I realized this isn't just about boundaries. It's about control. The second time he used my card, he didn't even tell me. I was at work when the notification popped up on my phone. $47.62. Some delivery service I didn't recognize at first. I stared at it for a few seconds, hoping maybe it was a mistake. Then I texted, did you just order food on my card again? 10 minutes passed. 10. Then he replied, yeah, I was hungry. We're a team, right? A team. 2 words that can feel romantic. But only when both people are rowing the boat. When I got home, he was exactly where I left him. On the couch. Watching a show. Eating casually like he'd earned it. I stood in the doorway. Still in my work clothes, the blazer that always reminded me I built this life from the ground up. Noah, I said, my voice low. We need to talk. He didn't pause his bite. About what? You using my card. The fact that you haven't been looking for work. Or a place to live. He rolled his eyes. He rolled his eyes. I have been, he muttered. There's just nothing out there right now. You quit, I reminded him. You didn't even try to make this work. I never agreed to support you. His whole posture shifted. The air in the room changed. He sat up slowly, his tone sharpening like a blade he'd been hiding behind his back. Wow, he said. So that's what this is now? What? He threw his hands up. I didn't realize you were gonna nickel and dime me. That line. I felt it punch straight through me. I took a breath, trying to steady my voice even though my heart was pounding so loud it made my ears buzz. I'm not nickel and diming you, I said. You're living here for free. You're not buying groceries. You're not paying utilities. You're not working. And now you're ordering food on my card without asking. He stared at me like I just insulted his very existence. Unbelievable, he muttered. So this is who you are. I blinked. Who I am? A control freak, he spat. Someone who throws help back in people's faces. You clearly never cared about me. And just like that, I was the villain in my own home. I tried to stay calm. I care about you. That's why I let you stay. That's why I've been patient. But this isn't support anymore, Noah. This is you using me. He stepped forward. His voice dropped. I'm going through a rough time, Callie. I know, I said. And I've been trying to help you. But helping someone doesn't mean carrying them. He scoffed. So now I'm a burden? I inhaled sharply. I think you're acting like one. Silence. Thick, sharp silence. He turned away, snatched up the empty takeout bag like it had personally betrayed him, and stormed into the guest room. His room now, at least in his mind. He slammed the door so hard the frame actually rattled. He didn't speak to me for 2 days. 2 days of icy silence. Of him walking past me like I was invisible. Of me tiptoeing around my own space like I was the one who had done something wrong. That's how it begins. Not with yelling. Not with fists. But with emotional punishment. Teaching you that if you ask for your needs to be met, you'll lose peace. So eventually you stop asking. By month 3, the truth hit me like a cold gust of wind. Noah wasn't acting like a guest anymore. He was acting like someone who thought my home was his. And then one night I saw the envelope. It was sitting on my kitchen counter. A small white envelope, completely ordinary. Except it had his name on it. Noah Ellison. My address. My breath caught. Mail isn't just mail. Mail is proof. Proof you exist somewhere. Proof you can claim something. Proof you can say, look, I live here. This is my home. My hands trembled as I held it. And I finally said the words out loud, like an admission I'd been avoiding. This isn't temporary anymore. If someone started getting mail at your house without asking, would that be your red flag? Or would you have let it slide like I did? Be honest. Let's talk boundaries in the comments. That night I asked him to sit down. He didn't look nervous. If anything, he looked amused. Like he was watching me try to build a sandcastle in a storm. We need to talk about next steps, I said. He leaned back in the chair, arms crossed. Okay. This isn't working anymore, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You were supposed to stay here temporarily. It's been 3 months. You're not working. You're not looking for apartments. I need my space back. He tilted his head. His expression blank. So, you're kicking me out? I'm asking you to leave, I said carefully. By the end of the month. For the first time, something flickered behind his eyes. Not anger. Not confusion. Calculation. I'm not trying to make this hard, I added quickly. I'll help you look. I'll even help with first month's rent if needed. He held up his hand. No, he said. Let's be clear. My stomach clenched. You're not asking me to leave, he continued calmly. You're threatening me. What? I blinked. No, I'm not. I'm setting a boundary. And then he smiled. Not the smile I'd fallen for. A different one. Cold. Controlled. You know, he said. People could see this very differently. What are you talking about? I've been living here for 3 months, he said, folding his arms. People could say you're controlling me. That you won't let me leave. That you pressured me financially. My heart skipped a beat. I actually laughed, short and nervous. Noah, that's ridiculous. Is it? He said quietly. I don't have a job. You pay for everything. You decide when I can stay and when I can go. But you chose this, I said, my voice suddenly thin. You quit your job. I never agreed to. This is my home. But who's going to believe that? He asked, eyes locked on mine. If I call the police and tell them I'm scared of you, that you're controlling me. My hands gripped the edge of the table. Are you serious? He didn't blink. Add me to the title, he said calmly. Or I'll protect myself. I stared at him. You want me to put your name on my grandfather's home? He shrugged. We're a couple. That's what couples do. No, I said, standing. Absolutely not. The air changed. His jaw tensed. His voice dropped into something cold and sharp. Then I guess I'll call the police. I'll say you're abusing me. My body went still. I stared at him. At the man who had once kissed my hand like I was his savior. And now? He was threatening to destroy me. I didn't call the police that night. I should have. I know that now. But instead I locked my door and started searching tenant laws. And what I found made my blood run cold. In part 4, the legal trap tightens. And I realized just how hard it is to get someone out once they've made themselves comfortable. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of the threats, but because I knew deep down he meant them. I locked my bedroom door, sat on the floor and started Googling. Tenant rights without a lease. Can someone claim residency after 30 days? Eviction process for unwanted guest. The answers? They made my skin crawl. Because after 30 days, even without a lease, Noah might legally be considered a tenant. I could hear him moving around in the condo, opening cabinets, pouring cereal. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just looked me in the eye and told me he would ruin me if I didn't hand him a piece of my home. The next morning I stepped into the kitchen. And there he was. Calm. Relaxed. Drinking my coffee. Like the night before hadn't even happened. I took a deep breath. You need to be out by the end of the week, I said. Or I'm starting formal eviction. He didn't even flinch. You really want to do this the hard way, he said. You're the one making it hard, I replied. He set his mug down. Slowly, like he wanted to make sure I saw it. Fine, he said, pulling out his phone. Let's see what the police think. My pulse spiked. Noah, don't. But he was already dialing. And as the phone rang, I watched his face shift. His shoulders dropped. His breathing changed. Like watching someone put on a mask. Hi, he said shakily. Yeah, I need help. My girlfriend's trying to force me out of our home. And I'm scared. I stared at him, frozen. She's been controlling my finances, he added, voice trembling. I don't feel safe. And he looked right at me as he said it. His eyes were stone. Everything else was performance. My fingers trembled as I reached into my pocket. This was happening. I needed proof. So I hit record. The sirens didn't come immediately. But the silence that followed? It was loud. He stood in the living room, still clutching his phone like a trophy. I stood by the kitchen counter, my phone recording every second. You didn't have to do that, I said quietly. He didn't answer. You're lying, I whispered. He finally turned dead-eyed. I'm protecting myself. Have you ever dealt with someone who could lie without blinking? Someone who could flip the story so fast you started to doubt your own reality? Tell me in the comments. You're not crazy. Some people are just that good at pretending. 15 minutes later, a knock at the door. 2 officers. 1 man, 1 woman. Calm. Neutral. Like they were trained to not assume anything. Ma'am, the woman said. We received a call about a domestic situation. Before I could speak, Noah stepped forward. I'm scared, he said, voice cracking. She's trying to make me leave. I have nowhere to go. My mouth opened but no sound came out. They separated us, him in the living room, me in the kitchen. The male officer looked at me gently. Can you tell me what's going on? I told him. Everything. That I owned the condo. That Noah had been staying temporarily. That there was never a lease. That he had quit his job. That he refused to leave. And then I said the part one hadn't wanted to believe. When I told him it was time to go, he threatened to accuse me of abuse unless I added him to the title. The officer wrote everything down. Do you have proof of ownership? He asked. Yes. Deed. Property tax. All of it. I also have the text. And I swallowed hard. I recorded our conversation this morning. His eyebrows rose. You did. This is a one-party consent state, I said. It's legal. Can I hear it? I played the recording. Noah's voice filled the room. Clear. Calculated. Add me to the title, or I'll protect myself. Then the shift, the fake panic, the call to police, the trembling voice. When the officer handed me back my phone, his jaw was tight. Please wait here, he said. He left. I stood alone. My hands were shaking so hard I had to hold them together just to stop from dropping my phone. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Then both officers returned. The woman spoke first. We've reviewed everything, she said carefully. Your ex-boyfriend acknowledged that this is your property. That there was never a formal agreement. I held my breath. However, the male officer added, filing a false 911 call is a crime. Based on the evidence, there was no immediate threat. My knees buckled with relief. So what now? I asked. We're issuing him a citation for misuse of emergency services, he said. And we're giving him 72 hours to collect his belongings and leave. From the living room, I heard Noah's voice explode. This isn't fair. You were a temporary guest, the officer said firmly. You need to leave tonight. You can return with an escort to collect anything else. Noah stormed into the kitchen, grabbing his jacket. His face was twisted, no fear now, just rage. This isn't over, he hissed. The male officer stepped between us. Sir, you need to go. Noah slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. And when the condo went quiet again, I sank down against the counter and sobbed until my ribs hurt. I thought it was over. But I was wrong. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. From a lawyer. He was suing me. Illegal eviction. Emotional distress. Financial damages. $15,000. I stood there staring at the letter. My hands numb. The police had seen through him, but now the system had a new face. And I realized this nightmare wasn't ending. It was evolving. In part 5, the lawsuit, the smear campaign, the other victims, and how I finally took my life back piece by piece. The envelope felt heavier than paper should ever feel. I stood at my kitchen counter, the same counter Noah once rearranged without permission, and read the lawyer's letter 3 times before the words fully sank in. Illegal eviction. Emotional distress. Financial damages. $15,000. I let out one small laugh. It cracked halfway through, sharp and ugly. Then the shaking hit. Hands, knees, jaw. Like my body couldn't decide where to store the fear. According to the letter, I had forced Noah to quit his job. Forced him to isolate from friends. Forced him out of his shared home. Shared. That word made my stomach twist. I called a lawyer that afternoon. He listened calmly, like he'd heard versions of this story before. When I finished recounting everything, the text, the police report, the recording, the property deed, I waited for him to say something. There was silence. Then a short, incredulous laugh. "This is nonsense," he said. "He has no case. Not even close." Relief washed through me so fast it made me dizzy. "So what do we do?" I asked. "We respond," he said. "And we counter. We sent everything. The messages showing the stay was temporary. The recording of Noah's threats. The police citation for false reporting. Building security footage showing Noah coming and going freely. Financial records showing I covered everything. We filed a counterclaim. Harassment, defamation, abuse of process. A week later, Noah's lawyer dropped him. I exhaled. Maybe this was finally over. But when legal pressure failed, he changed tactics. One morning, I woke up to a phone full of notifications. Messages from people I hadn't spoken to in months. "Hey, are you all right? I saw something online. Is everything okay with you and Noah?" My heart lurched. I opened social media. He didn't use my name. He didn't need to. He wrote emotional paragraphs about escaping a controlling girlfriend, about being silenced by money, about being made homeless for speaking his truth. And the comments, they stung more than the lawsuit. "Proud of you for sharing. Believe survivors. Men can be victims too." People who had eaten my food, sat on my couch, watched movies with me, were liking his posts. One friend messaged me, "Even if he exaggerated, there's usually some truth in these things." That line hurt more than all the legal papers combined. Because doubt doesn't need proof, just oxygen. My lawyer sent a cease and desist. The posts vanished within 48 hours. But the whispers didn't. I stopped sleeping. Every notification made my chest tighten. Every knock sound like a warning. What else could he do? What was left? A month later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Ms. Wynn." The voice was familiar. "One of the officers. I wanted to notify you. Noah Ellison has been arrested." The room tilted. "For what?" I asked. He paused, choosing his words carefully. "After your incident, he did the same thing to someone else." My breath caught. He moved in with another woman. Temporary hardship. Refused to leave. Called 911 when she asked him to go. I closed my eyes. My heart pounded against my ribs. "And this time," the officer continued, "we started digging." That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't personal. This wasn't unlucky. This was a strategy. This was a pattern. When he said the word pattern, my whole body went cold. Because it meant I hadn't imagined it. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't weak. I wasn't stupid. I was one chapter in a book he had been writing for years. A week later, I got another call. This time from a woman about my age. Her voice careful. Exhausted. "He did the same thing to me," she said. "We met downtown for coffee." She looked at me like I was proof she wasn't insane. She showed me screenshots, texts identical to mine. Same phrases. Same guilt trips. Same threats. Then more women came forward. Quietly at first. Then with growing confidence. 7 of us total. Different cities. Different careers. Different timelines. Same story. We gathered everything. Timelines. Evidence. Police reports. Financial records. The prosecutor looked overwhelmed. This isn't a bad breakup, she said. This is fraud. Charges escalated. Fraud. Extortion. False reporting. Harassment. The trial happened 4 months later. Sitting in that courtroom was surreal. Noah wore an orange jumpsuit. No charm. No grin. No confidence. Just a clenched jaw and eyes that refused to meet ours. His defense painted him as misunderstood. A victim of cruel wealthy partners. A man down on his luck, punished for asking for help. But lies don't survive patterns. Text messages contradicted him. Recordings exposed him. Police reports documented him. Financial records gutted him. The jury deliberated less than 4 hours. Guilty. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. 3 years in prison. 5 years probation. Restitution to every victim. Mandatory counseling. And my favorite part, a restriction prohibiting informal cohabitation arrangements during probation. The judge looked at him with something close to disgust. You weaponized compassion, he said. And you damaged systems meant to protect real victims. When it was finally over, I stepped out of the courthouse and breathed in the quietest breath of my life. Freedom doesn't always feel triumphant. Sometimes it just feels silent. I still live in the same condo, but the guest room is gone. Not physically but symbolically. It's my office now. Bookshelves. Plants. A desk by the window. No trace of him. I changed the locks again. Not because I needed to, but because I could. I'm dating someone new. He has his own apartment. His own life. His own plans. When he talks about the future, he talks about his lease. His timeline. He asks instead of assuming. He checks instead of taking. He offers instead of taking for granted. That's how I know the difference now. The women from the case still talk. A group chat that started as evidence became something else entirely. Support. Sisterhood. Proof that survival doesn't have to be solitary. Looking back, the scariest part wasn't the lawsuit or the false accusations. It was how close Noah came to winning. If I hadn't documented, if I hadn't trusted my instincts, if those officers hadn't listened, kindness would have cost me everything. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. I still believe in helping people, but I believe in helping myself first. Because kindness without boundaries isn't generosity. It's access. And no one, no matter how charming, how sad, how persuasive, gets access to my life or my home without earning it. He's locked up. We're free. And this time the door is closed for good.